Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Hardwood Nation podcast with your boy, C.O. Anthony, and my main man, Bryce Ward. Bryce, what's up? What's going on, man?
Oh, not much, man. Just living life, working, taking care of the family, just the usual, nothing crazy.
I almost did something to throw you off, but I think I'm going to do that next week. The closer we get to the season, I'm going to start doing something to throw you off. So, as always, we're here. We're going to talk hoops. We keep it real. We keep it raw. Please like, subscribe, and share our content. Drop comments below. We respond to the few that we get. So,
Very few, but they're there sometimes. Maybe on
they're there
Twitter
sometimes. Look, we got to grow this thing this year. We got to grow it. All right. So, what we're going to do this year, this episode, we're going to pick a couple of teams to talk about as we work our way to the start of the NBA season, which is actually about 2 weeks out as far as preseason. I do want to say one thing before we get started. Happy belated birthday, Jimmy Butler. Any news that anyone hears about Jimmy Butler liking the Nets or anything like that is absolute false news. Okay? So, with that being said,
I would say I agree with you, except Las Vegas usually tends to be onto something, and they got the Nets listed as the number one team possible for them to go to if Jimmy Butler does not re-sign with the Heatles. So
only because the Nets have the most cap space to offer next offseason. That's all that is. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Butler and the Heat are fine. They decided to let him play out his contract to work on a max extension in the offseason. So everything is fine. Again, it's fake news. Now,
until he's in a black jersey in Brooklyn.
And also let me say this. It's funny that you said black right there. Let me just say something. To all my Haitian friends, I'm on your side, and I know that you're not eating people's cats up there. All right, there we go. Let's get started. Bryce, which team did you want to talk about, which you think is interesting as we march our way to the beginning of this current NBA season?
Well, there's two I'm interested in, and you told me to pick a team in the West specifically. So
we can swap it up next week.
We're only gonna go with one this week, but there's two that piqued my interest, and one's Sacramento with the addition of DeMar DeRozan and their young core. But I'm more interested in the Grizzlies right now. Yeah. We're only a couple seasons removed from Ja being one of the most up-and-coming, exciting young players in the league, which he still is. But he took a almost full year off. And Memphis was also one of the up-and-rising young, better teams in the league before this as well. And they made some changes before last season that we really didn't get to see the fruits of. So I'm very excited to see, because the West is packed already. Like I mentioned Sacramento earlier, Sacramento on paper should be a little bit better too. The Grizzlies, who were almost a non-factor last year, should move back up into the middle of that pack in terms of being competitive. And also, I'm kind of excited. I mean, Ja is arguably, you could say, the most exciting player in the league to watch. I mean, you can make the argument. So I'm excited to see him come back with a full season, kind of with him and that team, kind of with a chip on their shoulder. Smart, I still think, has a little bit to prove, considering his move from Boston. And they drafted that new rookie center, Josh Edey, so that should change maybe the way that starting lineup looks, possibly moving Jaren Jackson Jr. to the 4 instead of playing that roaming 5 spot.
So you think Edey gets in right away?
I think so. I think so. Not to say he's going to be like super impactful one way or another. I just think he allows them to move that lineup a little bit to where I think they want Jackson Jr. more at the 4, and to be honest, their defense. I'm interested to watch their defense play with Edey on the court with all of them too, because Smart, Bane, Jackson Jr., Edey. That's going to be that's going to be a tough defense.
Yeah, I agree.
So Memphis makes or it seems the most interesting team to me because I think they're going to be right back in that pack of being competitive, and there's not a lot of room for that. I'm saying I think the West is going to be for as competitive as it was last year. It's going to be just like the East this year, and it's just going to be a dogfight. I think both conferences going to be a dogfight into the final week, final game of the season. But getting a player like Ja back for the entire season is a big deal, both for fans, non-fans, for the league. So I think just that one factor is enough for me to actually want to watch some Memphis games this season just to see what's going on over there. They're going to be exciting, I think.
So, excuse me. Last season, of course, Ja was out for most of the season. The Grizzlies ended up 13th. They won 27, lost 55. Do you think they can make the play-in? And before we go there, before you answer, Pelicans, Lakers, Kings, and Golden State were the 4 teams in the play-in. Do you think the Memphis Grizzlies can crack that group?
I think so because it's not just the Ja being out; they're also riddled with injuries, and I'm sure a lot of it is just not having the motivation to play without your star player too. I mean, I'm not excusing them. I'm just saying it wasn't just Ja out. I think I know Smart missed a lot of playing time, and I've seen the old vodka in the bottle trick. You gotta smell that shit
No,
before
no,
I
no,
get
no, 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 no. I haven't had a drink in 2 days.
it. Yeah. And but no, they had a lot of injuries too. So I'm kind of interested not to just see Ja back, but to see that team as a whole. But I definitely think because out of those teams that you listed, the one I believe in the least amount is to hold their spot. Golden State's a big question mark to
Don't you be
me.
disrespectful. Don't be
Hey,
disrespectful.
the rise was fast. The fall can be just as fast. I'm not worried.
No, don't you be disrespectful to the 4-time
Fuck
with
the
history.
Warriors. Fuck the Warriors. If you're not
Four
winning,
time.
who cares anymore? Who cares?
The
You
four
moved on
you're
from
not
Clay.
you're not gonna be disrespectful. They're gonna bounce back this season because Clay's not dragging them down.
Jaw's
I'm
gonna
saying.
dunk all over Curry. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. But
I disagree.
I do think they can. And also the there's the variable of just injuries. One of these teams, two of these teams in each conference is going to move up or down based on stuff that we can't predict. Um, and so that happens every season. So basically, Memphis just has to put themselves in a spot to take advantage of something like that. And I think they absolutely can do that. So yeah, I won't be surprised if one of those teams falls out of the play-in.
Do you think Ja's gonna be on his best behavior this season?
To an extent, yeah. Yeah. I do think I do think he will be more careful in terms of how he carries himself, or at least how he carries himself off the court a little bit, to where he can, because I mean, you have to think that you don't want to fuck it up twice. So
Yeah, I mean, the basketball gods sent him a message, so we'll see what happens.
yeah, we'll
This
see.
season, but we should have a full season of Ja. I don't know, man. I think it's going to be an adjustment period for them. I think they still will be humbled just a little bit. The start of the season is going to be rough. They may turn it around second half of the season, but I think they missed the playoffs this year. I really think they missed the playoffs this year. I mean, I've been wrong before. I don't mind being wrong. Drew Holiday, I still love you twice now, but I think it's going to be an adjustment for Memphis this year, especially if they start Edie early. Those bigs are going to have to get used to each other. So, but once it does start rolling defensively with those two guys and Marcus Smart, Bane's okay defensively, but he has those little arms. But with Marcus Smart and the two bigs down there, I think they're gonna be some problems there for the opposing team. So moving right along to the team that I'm going to chronicle today, the team that I am absolutely in love with. If I wasn't a Heat fan, I would be a fan of this team. because I still love Joel Embiid, despite what everyone else says about him, despite the shenanigans, the flopping, all of that. I still want a traditional big man on my team.
You like watching? How many games have you watched Embiid the whole game and still
I watch a
enjoy?
lot. I love watching Embiid play. I
I
laugh
don't know
every
how
time he
you
falls.
can. It's so boring and annoying.
No, it's not. No, it's not boring. It's just like
It is.
I wouldn't say it's boring. Okay, it just reminds. It's a throwback. So that's why I love it. It's a throwback. When
It's
they
a
just start
throwback
feeding them the ball.
with flopping. It's a throwback and add-on flopping. That's what it is. Disgusting.
And even when Embiid's out and Drummond's in, it's more of a throwback then. So I just absolutely love it. But yeah, I love the 76ers. God knows I love Tyrese Maxey. God, Jesus knows I love Tyrese Maxey.
And the original Boogie Monster for you, Paul George, is there. The first person to strike fear into you and your Heatles.
Wow. Well, I think he struck fear in Roy Hibbert's wife first, but that's for another conversation. Another conversation.
That old Pacers dynasty.
Yeah, that old Pacers dynasty had it. I thought for sure it was going to be trouble.
Roy Hibbert, who? He wasn't around a lot longer.
She was the fiance then, but Google it, guys. Google it if y'all don't know what happened. No, I absolutely love Philly. I love the addition of Paul George. I think they're going to be ultra dynamic, even more so dynamic than when Harden was there. And here's why. When Paul George is healthy, he's more of a team guy than James Harden is. Paul George isn't going to disappear outside of him being injured. When he's playing, he's playing. So, and I think he will play well off of Embiid and Maxey, particularly at this stage of his career, where he doesn't have to really carry the load anymore. I mean, hell, Paul George should just spot up and shoot, and he gets you 6 or 7 threes a game at this point in his career. So he doesn't have to do much as long as the other guys. Maxey, I'm not worried about him. He's going to stay healthy. But as long as Embiid can stay healthy relatively, this is a dangerous big three. Also, one, Maxey got paid. Two, he's bulked up this offseason too. So he's ready for this grind.
They definitely gave him some drug tests, I feel like, this offseason.
They did. Yeah, he did.
They called one press conference with Maxey, and they're like, send it.
Yeah, he did say he was tested. They, as of right now, they don't have Nicholas Batum, who did play good minutes for them last year. I think he's gonna wrap it up. Of course, the worst mistake in the history of that franchise when they paid Tobias Harris and didn't pay Jimmy Butler. So Tobias is gone now, finally. But I think the Sixers are going to be okay. I really do. I think the trifecta of Boston, Philly, and New York is just going to be a knockdown, drag out. Those three teams are ahead of Milwaukee right now, which is just a clusterfuck still. But those three teams, I couldn't even tell you who the best team isn't going to win that series. It's the most healthy team is going to win those collisions. Okay, when it happens. But I think Philly, and we say this every year about Embiid. Should Embiid stay healthy for the duration of a season, Philly's going to be a problem come playoff time, especially with Paul George there. What are your thoughts on Philly?
Yeah, the debate for the top three in the East, I don't really think is up for the argument isn't really up for debate. I think you're right with those three teams. It's when you get into 4 to like 8 to 9, 10, where you can really start debating. But my biggest issue with Philly is the same issue that I had with the Clippers. And on paper, it looks very nice. It's a matter of if they're healthy at the right time. And Embiid has a habit of not. So that's my biggest issue with them before I become – are they going to have a pretty good regular season or be there at the end? You know, it just depends on how long and the timing of whatever Embiid does. So I think we can expect some time off because I can't remember a season when he hasn't had some time off. But if he's healthy at the right time, then it can work out for him. But
Yeah.
Paul George keeps tying himself to these situations that are out of his control. And, he's had his own injury issues, and he's kind of put a lot of that behind him. But I mean, being next to Kawhi was an issue, and I think this Philly team can still be pretty good, even when one of the main guys falls out because you have the two others. So I still think they're gonna be right there. They're gonna have a good regular season. I have to see it. I have to see Embiid prove to me that he can be healthy for one of these tough playoff series, and I want to see them beat a team like Boston or New York before I believe in them to be a champion. Because on paper they have what it takes to do it. The execution and the health just hasn't been there. And with the East the way it is, it will not surprise me if one of these other teams have a good run with a healthy team all season. Philly could fall. The Knicks could fall. I don't think they're going to be so much better than every other team that they're going to separate themselves too much. I do think they're the 2 and 3 team in the East, but that doesn't mean that's where they'll be standing wise. But on paper, healthy, yes, Philly might be the most dangerous team to Boston to come out of the East if Embiid can go through the playoffs healthy. But that's a big if. That's something that we haven't seen a lot of. So the potential is there. Whether they can execute it is a different story.
I'm going to make a bold, too early prediction here, which again I have no problem doing. If the Boston Celtics run into the Sixers or the Knicks in the playoffs, they will not be repeat champions. So it's not happening. It's not. They are not tough enough to deal with that. Just saying. They are a good team. They are the defending NBA champions, and they're going to be that for the duration of the season. But if they run into a healthy, let me just change it, healthy Sixers or New York Knicks team with Julius Randle, if they don't trade him, I can't see Boston get through either one of those teams, to be honest with you. Last thing we'll talk about. See, we're changing up the format just a little bit. My boy, I still got the Vice jersey. Jayson Tatum said that he's gunning for the MVP this upcoming season. So 2 early MVP chances. What kind of a shot do you give Tatum for winning an MVP? Like, what do you think he has to do to win the league MVP this upcoming season?
To win it, he has to shoot Jokic and Luka in the leg.
We don't condone violence here on the Hardwood Nation podcast, but metaphorically, I understand what Bryce is meaning.
And I know people are getting annoyed with Jokic winning, but then play better than him. Same thing with Luka does to me all the things that are expected of Tatum, but seems more impactful, I guess. It may not truly be, but it feels that way. And then you still have Embiid there, who is healthy, is going to put up monster numbers. So, I to be honest, Tatum doesn't really do anything too crazy compared to his last seasons. And I just don't think he has enough. I don't think he does enough to make me overlook those other guys I listed. Is he going to be in the conversation? Yeah, but I think he's lost his window for that because now you have guys like SGA popping into the conversation. You have guys who, for a little bit, like Jalen Brunson, was balling so hard, he was in the conversation.
Right.
You're going to have Anthony Edwards, for as loud as his mouth is, you're going to have his game starting to get him into the conversation. His game was going to get him into
He got quiet during USA basketball, I will say that.
He went from saying he was like the Kobe of the team to not really getting the ball as much. And they won the championship, or they won the gold medal. So you had to you can't go around all those guys and talk that shit when you're that young still.
You're right. You're right about Edwards.
So I think Tatum will go through the phases where he's in the conversation for it. But I think he's lost his window because if he can't overcome Luka Jokic or Embiid, which I don't think he can, I think he's going to get passed up age-wise, and he's going to miss his spot because the next guys coming up are going to take it from him.
I'm going to throw a dark horse name out there as well. Even though this team gave us a lot of content last year. It was a lot of content last year. I think Giannis is going to have a strong year this year. I think he's going to come in more healthy than he's been the last couple of years. I think he knows, even though last year I said Dame has to be the one to close games, I think that's going to shift this year to Giannis. I think we're going to see a more – this is probably going to be the last year we see peak Giannis, okay? I think he's ready to go. So I would throw him in there as a dark horse. You're correct with Jokic and Luka being ahead of Giannis, but I think Tatum even has to deal with that. So especially being in the same conference. So because all the other guys are out west outside of Embiid, but I think Giannis is going to have a strong season this year. So so that's another thing that, like I said, that's another wall or barrier that Tatum will have to run through. The quote caught me off guard because I'm like, bro, enjoy your championship right now. Just enjoy it. Just, But I guess that's his motivation because he didn't play a lot during Team USA, during the Olympics. So maybe this is his motivation to try to get – I don't know. But
he wasn't even the best player on his own team during the playoff run. So, I mean, he didn't get finals MVP.
Which could be another factor in him wanting to get the league MVP because he's looking at Jaylen Brown like, what the fuck, bro? So he's like, at this point, I need something. So good point. So on that note, we're going to wrap up this week's episode of the Hardwood Nation podcast. The NBA season is fast approaching. Everyone stay safe. Please like, subscribe, and share our content. Drop comments below, and we are out.